Hello and welcome. I'm Deb. I'm the Traveling Stocking Stitcher. I'm really happy you're able to join me here today. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm calling the episode I'm Feeling Capricious because I've got three fully finished objects that are related to southern Italy. Specifically one for the Isle of Capri or Capri, more on that in a minute, and Sorrento, Amalfi Coast. I'm wearing a scarf that I bought in Amalfi Coast, which is one of my favorite scarves. It reminds me very much of the tiles that you see around in Amalfi. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So like I say, I've got three fully finished objects. I've got 5 whips to show you today. 4 of those are new starts you haven't seen before. So we'll give you updates on the progress that I've been doing. So let's get started and head off to the Isle of Capri. I started this in 2022. This is from Mystic Stitch Inc. They're no longer in business, and so it's a paper copy. This is based on an old travel poster, or vintage travel poster, and so it's got the these famous rocks. You see, if you've ever seen Dolce & Gabbana ads, they use the backdrop of that those rocks a lot, and so. Like I said, I started this about 2002 and was not making a whole lot of progress on it because, one, it's full coverage, and I typically don't do full coverage. I'm doing it on 14 count, and I'm doing it on 14 count white, and while it's actually kind of a mix. There's a lot of confetti, and there's spots where there's not a lot of confetti. And at one point, there's a lot of white down below here, and I was hoping that maybe I could just get away with not doing that. And I decided to change my mind and just go ahead and stitch it because it was going to look unfinished if I didn't. I actually swapped out. It called for 712, which is not really white, but I wanted it to be more white. So I used anchor white just because I had happened across a bag of a number of skeins of anchor white and thought I would use that. So here's what we have. This is Capri. And even in the letters don't seem like they're, they would be that confetti heavy, but they are. I'll get it close there for you because I can really see. Well, again, it's part of the travel poster collection that I do. I try to get them in 11 by 14 frames. I like to have some fun facts, and so the Isle of Capri is really supposed to be pronounced Capri instead of Capri, like most of us are used to. You think of the 1950s and the jet setting, and you've got Jackie Onassis and Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton hanging out in the islands there, but it's really they think the name derives from Capri, like Capricorn, think of, and it's really refers to goats, and because there were goats on the island. Matter of fact, there is you can take a chairlift up to the top of Monte Solare, which is about 1,900 feet tall. Beautiful views. Look out all throughout. All around the island, and then you can walk down. You can take the chairlift back down, but I walk down, and there's this old abandoned monastery that has some of the best views of the island. And on my way down, there was a woman tending her goats on the side of Monte Solare. So that's really the way you're supposed to pronounce it. So there's 2 towns, Capri and Anacapri. Capri's down below, and Anacapri's way high on top of a cliff. And the island itself is nearly the size of New York Central Park, and there's only about 13,000 people that actually live there, and during the summer, the tourist month, approximately 80% of the people on the island are, at any given time during the high season, are tourists instead of actual locals. And during the 17th century, half the population of Capri died due to the plague. The next one I have to show you is also Italian inspired. It based on Majolika tiles. As a matter of fact, it's called Majolika Italian Tiles Sicily, and it's from Cross Stitch GB, and I did this 2/1 on 20 count white Lugana Evenweave, and here it is. It's very reminiscent, like I said, of the tiles that you see out there, and lemons, of course. And so I chose not to stitch the white background, and by doing that I eliminated what would have been almost 35,700 stitches. It's 21,396 with just with the white not stitched. Matter of fact, I even chose not the flowers should be white, and I actually thought it gave them a little more dimension. I tried stitching them and they just kind of, I liked having the negative space on the lemon flowers as well. And then of course I added down below the word Sorrento, because we visited Sorrento, and there's took the ferry from Sorrento over to Capri, and what I did is decided to make the O's into slices of lemons. Now the way I did that is, I'll show you my other whip. I showed you this as a finish last couple episodes ago, but what I did is I used this. This is Lemons Cross Stitch Blue Tile, is just basically what it's called. It's from Natalka Studio on Etsy, and it's on 16 count white Aida, and it's 2/1. And so it had this round lemon here, and the yellows on this one are a little bolder than this one. This is obviously more muted, so I just changed the colors over, used the darkest color, etc., and used the O's for Sorrento. And I'll just get a good close look there. You can take a gander. Like I said, the tiles that you see around, it's not uncommon for there to be tiles on houses. In the towns, each house has a little ceramic plaque that has basically the location, the address but they're all beautiful ceramic tiles, and so very, very similar to this. Next up, we recently got back from a trip, 10 days in Scotland. And so I've got some things to show you, things that I worked on there or related to that. We went late August, early September, and had really beautiful weather. Surprisingly, I guess they had been having a lot of rain, as Scotland is known to do. We had really sunny skies most of the time. It was one day it rained, one day overcast, but really, really lovely and warm weather and fantastic. Day after we got back from the trip, tested positive for COVID, so that was my first time. I've been avoiding it for 4 years, finally came down with it, and nothing too bad, and got through it and tested just a little tiny vague thing. I figured I was, negative, good to go. And then yesterday, tested positive again. So I'm on my rebound, and so I've got my second round of COVID going on. So if I seem a little out of sorts, probably why. So, but before we went, I picked some things out that I wanted to work on that are easy to do on the train or on the plane and on the bus and so on. So first one is called London. It's from Stitchrovia, and this is on 14 count light blue. I'm doing it 2/1, and I'm about 64.82% complete. I eliminated, because I did it on blue, I eliminated about almost 23% of the stitching. So 747 I'm not stitching, and that took out almost 3,000 stitches. So here's what I have. And Stitchrovia, I've done a few by Emma Congdon, and they're so much fun to stitch. They just, they're easy, they're quick, they make really great travel things. You've got St. Peter's Cathedral here, and you've got Elizabeth Tower has Big Ben over here and the London Eye going around there. Over here you've got, this here is a shard, big tall building, and then this is what they call the gherkin, looks like a pickle. So that's what I've got so far. And then the other one that I did, I started before I left. I was looking for things that are, you know, big count and easy to stitch, and so I decided to pick up, I've been looking for a while for a Washington DC one, and there is a Mystic Stitch Washington DC. I can't even find it online anymore. They've gone out of business about, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and it's got I think Lincoln Memorial and Washington Monument, and it's on black. Couldn't find that, so instead I picked up Washington DC, the Pretty Little City series that Jody Rice, the designer for Satsuma Street, has done, and started stitching on this just to see how it would go before I took auditioning it, as you will, if you will, and I couldn't put it down. I finally had to make myself stop. So this is 14 count black, 2/1, and it's almost 20% complete. I didn't work on this on the trip at all. I worked on the London piece when I was stitching things, but I did this all before I left when I was not supposed to be doing it. So there it is. Now it almost seems like it might need a little back stitching. I don't know if that would help. It seems like it's kind of blurring. When I get more stuff in there, it might look better because it's so white. I think a lot of the light colors, but her stuff is always so pretty and colorful. So I have picked up a few Scottish things that I want to stitch to commemorate our trip. And so first up for Scotland, this one is called Flowers of Scotland for St. Andrew's Day, Thistle, Tartan, and Celtic Knotwork by the Vivsters. I think she's starting to go by Vivsters on Etsy as well. I just noticed the other day. And this is on 22 count, 22 count white, 2/1. I toyed a little bit with coverage. I tried 1/1, and it just, because I wanted to have a look of tartan, I wanted it to be a little thicker and look a little more kilty and wool, so I wanted it to be fairly thick. But I've got 20.8% complete, and here's what we have so far. So got a pretty good start over here on the tartan. There's still some black that needs to be woven in the spots that aren't done there, but I've got some lattice work, start of the thistle, one of the leaves with thistle. Down below here, this all is filled with 500. So had I thought about it a little more, I might have spaced it out a little bit so I could have maybe left some of this blank. Right now it's got to be all filled in, which is a lot of fill. I think it's really 2,400 stitches or something, just of this one color. And so, you know, when you're looking, don't want to think too hard, it's a good time to pull it out and fill that in. But I could have maybe spaced it out a little bit so I could have gotten away with doing as much fill as that. At one point I even thought I was going to maybe put a bar on the top to match this one down below, but I don't want to do that twice. I'm not sure I want to do it once. So what I am going to do is I'm probably going to label this one Edinburgh, and I'm going to try to use the tartan and use letters using this the design across the top, so the letters each look like they're made out of tartan. I always love me some Vivsters. It's got to be like the 5th one I've done. A lot of block stitching, which doesn't bother me too much, but you know, it can be a little excessive after a while, so don't mind pulling that out once in a while and working on that. But this is a called UK Map Watercolor Great Britain with Union Jack from Tam Stitch Designs, and I just love anything that has watercolor on it. And so this is on, it's pretty small. Again, I usually want to make it fit in 11 by 14 frames, so I had to go pretty tiny with these stitches. You can see how little they are. But they are 25 count, and it is 1/1, and I decided to do it on a light blue. It calls for white, but a pretty much got most of Scotland filled in here. And I'm working on the Union Jack over here. This is some sort of nebulous landmass. I think it's supposed to be Greenland or something. Now, this is not showing up great because it is on the blue. I don't know if that was the wisest choice to do the blue was ocean. But, like I say, I still got a lot of geography to do down here. But I'm really liking the colors, how it's got that watercolor effect. Very pretty. And I'll be putting some lettering. I did find some lettering that looks like the Union Jack. Every letter looks like the Union Jack. Unfortunately, it was sold out on Etsy, or currently unavailable, so hopefully that comes back again. Rona Noni Designs is the Etsy shop, so I'm keeping an eye out to see if that will come back. So that's the plan for now. It's 52.87% on Pattern Keeper. Might be a little more than that. I was stitching on it this morning before I wrote my notes. But because I'm not doing the background, it's probably close to about 25% that I've got done so far. So not too bad. I mean, I've really only been stitching on it for maybe a week or so, so it's coming up pretty quick. I'm not having too much trouble. Sometimes when you use the smaller, one strand on small count, sometimes it wants to slide between there, but really not having trouble at all. So. And that looks, yeah, there we go. That looks about right for the color. So I do have one other that is a work that I've made some progress on since the last time I showed it to you. This one is called Vienna Ballet. It's from Diana70 Etsy shop. And there's actually a series of these. There's 4 different elegant, fancy ladies standing in front of these beautiful architectural landmarks. So they've got the Paris Opera, they've got the New York Symphony and Venice Theater, and so this one is, like I say, Vienna Ballet, and it was 400 by 496 stitches, which is pretty large. It's like 28.5 by 35, and on her site she said that she could size it down, and I like to have these 11 by 14 sizes. And so she made it 240 by 302, which worked for me. I did it on 22 count, 1/1, on ivory hardanger. The artwork is by Andrea Lalibert. And I'm not going to stitch the background on it. That will take out some 26,000 stitches. So, and the last time you saw it, it was about 48.87 complete. That's according to Pattern Keeper. Currently, I'm about 54.28%. Which in reality is closer to about 28.42%, so not quite 30% that I've got done. But I made some progress, and so I'm working on the border, and I thought this would be really tedious. It wasn't actually too bad. I thought there'd be a little more definition, because it looks, in the artwork, it looks a little more curly-Q, and you can see a little more swirly definition. I don't know if I'm picking that up real strongly. In there, but you're starting to see Vienna Ballet lettering show up a little bit, and like I said, none of the background, but I am going to do the buildings, and so I've got a few more stitches there, and then she's in this beautiful blue dress, and I've got a little bit of the corner down here as well, so still a lot to do on the border, but it's actually coming along surprisingly well. 1/1. Yeah, I'm enjoying stitching on this when I have the chance. So kind of a quick update today, but next time you see me, I will probably be doing a episode about the Queen City Stitch Retreat, which I'm going to in mid-October. First Stitch Retreat, I've never been to one before, and so it's being hosted by Kitty Whips and Fiber Arts Amy, so very excited to do that. The designer that is going to be featured there is Autumn Lane Stitchery, so I've got some plans to do a Christmas stocking. It's been a while since I've done a Christmas stocking, so I've got plans to do one of their Santa Claus is coming to town and pair it with a little town scene to fill out the bottom of the boot for the Christmas stocking. So those are my next plans to what I'm going to be working on, and hopefully I will be over COVID for a while. So thank you for joining me today. I'm really glad that you stopped by and appreciate you showing up. If you haven't been here before and you'd like to subscribe, that would be fantastic. Liking is always helpful for making YouTube very happy. And leave a comment. I really like to interact with people and meet new friends, and you know, there's such a wonderful community out there. So hope you will join me again in the future, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you. Bye.